Welcome to Nothing But Net, one of the great gentlemen in all of college basketball. If you're looking for somebody who would share, provide insight, tell you the truth, and never hear a bad word spoken about him by anybody in the game, that would be Bob Starkey. His picture would be in the definition, in a dictionary. Bob, thank you for being with us. It's so great to see you.
Well, it's great to see you as always. I say this all the time. Our game doesn't have anybody that promotes it in the way it needs to better than you. And I appreciate everything you do, whether you're behind the mic, whether you're in the gym, whether you're on social media or doing a podcast. You're such an important part of the growth of our game.
Well, you are too, and I live vicariously through you because I'm not an avid reader like you are, but you are, and you post a lot of great stuff. Good advice, good way to start your day. Where does all that come from, Bob? Where's your motivation to help others come from?
Uh, a couple people. The first one would be Don Meyer, small college coach uh, at Lipscomb and Northern University, who just spent an entire career on coaching coaches. And it was so important to him. It didn't matter where you coached at, what level, he was always giving and giving and giving. And then Dale Brown was another guy who poured into other people and found time to help other coaches grow. So I had great examples and uh, wanted to do what they had done for me.
Well, you do that every day, and we're all grateful for it. So thank you, because you do equally the same amount of promotion and helping old coaches, young coaches, and broadcasters along the way. So thank you for all that. Hey, we're gonna have a real treat today. I mean, those that are tuning in, and this is one of my favorite parts about doing this podcast is learning and sharing and growing, changing my own vernacular or the way I might see a play or see the game by watching film through the eyes of coaches. It's the best place to learn. And you're kind enough today to break down some film for us. So, the great Bob Starkey, the associate head coach at LSU, who's known as a defensive guy, but I would never label you as one thing or another, Bob. I think you're an incredible teacher on both sides of the ball, no matter where you're coaching or whoever you're working with.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't, if you're a coach's coach, I don't think there's a better compliment than for somebody to refer to you as a teacher. That means a lot to me.
All right, so what do you got for us? Let's break down a little ball screen defense here. You know
We
I'm
are. We're going
all
to look a little.
offense, Bob. I'm all offense. It was a really tug on the heart to pull you in on some. No, not at all.
Well, it's because of offensive-minded people like you that us defensive people have to spend extra time trying to figure out how to defend you guys.
Yeah, this is going to be great. This is going to be really good. I've got my paper and pencil ready, and I'm ready to write some notes.
Well, we're just going to look at some team defense stuff. I actually pulled some clips from our championship team a few years ago because it's literally one of the best defensive teams I've coached. And we're going to start with some ball screen defense. And I think that's important. You know, Dick Bennett has a very profound comment that I think is really important for coaches to understand. And that's be good at the things you have to do a lot. Be good at the things you have to do a lot. You can't be good at everything because then you become very average and mediocre in everything. Well, our game has become a ball screen game. Teams are either running ball screens to get in the sets, or when their offense bogs down, then they go to a ball screen at the end of the clock. So, ball screen defense is something that we work on every day, and it's an important part of our defense. We'll look at a couple of situations here and talk about it. Right here, we're nice and big. Here's the thing about ball screen defense I would start with. It is a 5-man deal. A lot of people think that ball screen actions are 2-on-2 actions. It is a 5-man deal. The placement of your players, where you're getting your help, and there's so many ways to defend ball screens. You know, you can flat hedge, you can hard hedge, you can slide under, you can ice, you can switch. We were doing just about all of those. And after the course of the year, I didn't like the way we were playing defensively. And the reason is we were doing too many. So to me, I think you have to have 2, maybe 3 ways to defend ball screens, because I really believe when you go into a game, there's got to be a plan A and a plan B. And if plan A doesn't work, you have to go to plan B. But right here, you're seeing a flat hedge. You see Poa chasing the ball over the screen. You see our 5-player coming up. and you see our players getting in the gap here. And right down here's Angel Reese, who's picking up the roller for a second or two.
I say, Bob,
Great
under overhead
contest right
strap.
there by Samaya Smith coming out and hedged on that screen.
I say under overhead strap, ice jam, switch, drop. 8 different ways you can guard a ball screen with a variation. And I say it quickly on the air
And
because
I'll
we don't
say
need them
this. I
all. I
think one of
agree
the
with
most
you.
difficult things to defend in basketball right now are ball screens that happen in the middle third of the floor. The high ball screen, certainly, but actions like this, where the ball's reversed, and they come up and they slap you with a quick screen in the middle of the third. But here you see LaDasia Williams again coming over and extending that screen. Lexus tries to slide under it, but LaDasia has to buy her time. You see Angel cheating right here, getting in the gap. So if she does turn the corner, she's maybe a little bit hesitant about driving the ball. And then there's the quick recover.
And you're keeping the ball on the same side of the floor.
Great finish right here by Virginia Tech, by the way. Kitley was something.
Yeah, she's a good player.
Right here again, that screen in the middle of the third. Slide under. Notice that our players are in the gap. Now, once that ball comes to the middle of the third and there's a ball screen, we want to cheat our perimeter players in. The thing about offense, Chuck Daly, offense is spacing, spacing is offense. And there's not a more truer comment you can make about offense. So if you take that and invert that, good defenses take away spacing. They find a way to crowd the floor at specific times. And we've done a pretty good job right there. You can see we got 5 players guarding the ball. They're coming down here with the ball screen. Poa has rotated over into help and picks up a charge.
Really good team
Out what we
defense.
don't do well here. Samaya gets back. We really work hard and preach that we want to get back and play 5-on-4, 5-on-3 in transition defense. She should be sitting right here in the stance, making it impossible for this player to drive. But we don't do a very good job of that here. We let her get into the teeth of the defense. Comes a ball screen. There's the flat hedge. Again, shrinking the floor right here. Middle third, again, almost a mirror, which shows how good LaDasia Williams was defensively. Comes out, extends the screen.
High hands. Really important habit.
Again, LaDasia. Help, show, recover. Really good on-ball defense by Lex there, too. Notice that Flau'jae sitting right here at the top. We're trying to, because they're coming off the ball screen. They're generally coming off first to look for a shot, second to look for a roll, and then they go to their third options. I believe Flau'jae gets her hand on this basketball a little bit, but then Angel's there to clean it up. So that's just a look at our ball screen stuff right there. And I can't say enough of how important it is to regardless of how you defend it. You don't have to defend it like us. There's so many ways to play this game. But again, Dick Bennett, be good at the things you have to do a lot, and we all have to guard ball screens. So what's your philosophy? How are you taking away? What's your plan B? And then work on it every day. I'll say this: helping recover is a critical part of any defense. Whether it's, I don't care how you play your man. If you're up the line, on the line, if you're pack line, if you play zone, really good defenses are multiple action defenses. There's a lot of good teams that can guard the first action, but if you want to have an elite defense, your players have to be coached and taught how to guard multiple actions, and that's harder than normal. That especially some people think, because there are teams out there that can be selfish defensively. You hear selfishness used sometimes offensively when players don't share the ball. Well, defensively, sometimes they get caught up with, I got my man, I'm not going to let my man score. And it's got to be 5 players working together trying to stop the basketball. Got a double stagger right there on the backside. break the defense down, makes a nice move right here. Angel immediately takes it. We've got a switch right here. Ball comes to the middle. Flau'jae stays at home. Good job of team guarding the ball right there. A lot of weave action, ball screen. Watch Angel right here. This is a Kim Mulkey staple right here. When you are guarding the screener, it is ball you man. You are absolutely disengaged from the screener. So right there, ball you man. If she comes down here, Angel stays ball you man. Now she can recover. Again, there's good help by Carson. Ball comes back in the middle. We got help. Good job of making them have to make plays. Here's another point I would make. You see the ball's out here on the wing, and you see LaDeja, great stance, hand up, but well off the ball. Again, this is what we do. There's a lot of different ways to play the game, but we rely on scouting a lot. And if you're not a perimeter threat, we're probably going to back off of you to make sure that we can get the help quicker, that we can clog the paint, even maybe want you to shoot the ball from there. One of the things I learned from Bob Knight a long time ago was sometimes the best pressure is no pressure. There's some players with great handles that want to be pressure because that's how they break you down, but they struggle if you give them space and that they have to make decisions. Here's Lex. I think she's going to come up on this a little bit late. A little bit late. Again, you see the disengagement from her man, from Angel, the extension, the recover back into the post. Late clock situation. We'll talk about this in a little bit. Again, look at the help right there. There's the ball. Our team is guarding the ball. Our team is guarding the ball. By the way, that was Georgia Moore's at Kentucky now, and she is absolutely one of my favorite players.
She's good. She's really good. Very talented.
Coming off. Rejects the screen. Angel. Ball. Me. Basket. You see our help right here. Setting a pin screen right here. Going to chase that over the top. Look at the help. Look at the help. Good team defenses swarm to the ball. Lex gets hung up on that screen. When we get down screens or pin screens on the baseline, especially if it involves a shooter, a good player, we teach our kids to tag. And the tag, she should have been on the outside shoulder, but that one happened quick. She got hung up. And again, there's Angel extending the screen, making sure that we're covered. Our player right here's got into the gap, and all of a sudden, there's your ball handler, and we got Lady Tiger surrounding her.
Outside shoulder, right?
These are just some team defensive clips here. And show a little bit of all the things that I think they're good about the way we play defensively. Good job of battling down there in the post. That kid was a handful. Good anticipation there by Flau'jae. This was actually a big bucket. The game was tied, and she recognized the situation, got in the passing lane. Again, I see a lot of stances out, and good help by Angel, stopping the basketball. This is something we teach too. This is called walling up. The ball gets inside, wall up. Work hard not to leave your feet. Don't bail them out on a bad shot. Just wall up, straight up. Again, good help by Angel showing. We've kept the ball on the same side of the floor this entire possession. That is my favorite play in basketball. A shot clock violation. A shot clock violation. Good stance, getting over the screen. Great individual ball defense by Angel. We are really big on deflections. Every day at practice, we have a manager with a chart that charts deflections. And at certain points in practice, if it's going real good, I'll say, "Hey Sid, how many deflections we got?" And she'll call it. There may be days where I think our hands aren't very active, and I'll ask her, "Who's got the most deflections today? How come you don't have any more deflections?" But the active hands are a big part. Our deflection goal for every game is 30. And I do believe this. This is a Don Meyer thing. It's not always what you teach, it's what you emphasize. So if
Yes.
there's something critically important to your defense, how are you measuring that? How are you charting it? Not just in games, but in practice. Love deflections. There you see Flau'jae tagging over that pin screen. Again, LaDeja Williams is one of the best defensive post players I've coached. Right up there with Sylvia Fowles and Sierra Johnson. Right here, she reads a flare. Don't know if this kid's going to reverse flare. Knows that she can give her player a little bit of space up there under the screen. Again, we got gap help right here, and we're forcing a contested jump shot. And if you're not turning them over, and you're not getting a shot clock violation, your goal is a contested mid-range jump shot. You want to take threes away, and you want to take layups away. This is a situation where you can see that we got Georgia right here in a no-catch situation. Lex trying as hard as she can to limit her touches. Does a great job right there. Staying in front of the ball. I love where we're at right here. I love our positioning. Again, working on no touch with that kid. Active hands in the gap. These next few clips are called digging. And again, that comes from helping. Anytime the ball goes to the paint, if the offensive player with the ball shows you her back, we want you to dig. So right here, Kitley shows Flau'jae her back. That's a signal that she can get in there and maybe get her hand on the basketball. Kind of like run and jump,
Yeah.
When you run and jump, you want to see the back before you jump. Same thing with digging. We'll also dig on the perimeter when we can. Switch right there. They're running a flare action. Ball right there's the back. Flau'jae again does a great job getting in there. Shows the back. Angel gets in, makes her give it up. One more clip. This is called hot. If you watch this play, you may already know this. Hot occurs when the shot clock gets down to 10 seconds. When it gets down to 10 seconds, doesn't matter. This is the end of a quarter, but it could be the end of any possession. Any possession, when the shot clock gets to 10, we become a switch. Every ball screen team, 1 through 5. We're not worried about matchups at that time. We don't think they have enough time to take advantage of them. We just want to make sure we got the ball covered. So it's under 9, so we've got a switch right here. Angel's got the ball. They're going to come right by. Angel, we're going to switch again. We're keeping them in front. By the way, good switch by Angel. Maybe a little bit too much contact, but I think if you switch at an angle to see if you can take the ball a little bit further than when she caught it. Right down there, and that's how you finish out the possession.
Wow, Bob, even you can get me excited about defense, which is hard to do. But I got a couple of trigger words that I will be incorporating in my own broadcasts. And I just had your game against Kentucky. I wish I had some of these before because this is great stuff for me when I see you in the NCAA tournament, which I'm sure I'm going to see you.
Well, I am passionate about defense. I just, offense is so important. Offense is more important now than it's ever been before. There's been such a drastic change in our game in the last decade, not just from the improved skill set, but I think the improved methods of which teams play offense. I think a big change in our game occurred officiating about a decade ago with the hand check. You know, if you watch the men's game, man, they're pushing and
Oh,
shoving the
yeah.
ball handler, and we're
They're
not allowed to.
grabbing and clutching.
Yeah,
They don't let anybody cut.
it's
They
so
don't let
physical.
anybody
We
set a
can't
screen.
we can't touch anybody.
Yeah.
So we have to find a way to defend that. You know, we can sit here and complain that maybe but that's the way the game's played. So how can you best defend that? And there's so many challenges in the game. You just mentioned our Kentucky game. They just have a tremendous point guard. I
Yes.
mean, a kid who can shoot, who can penetrate. She has amazing ability to change speeds with the ball. And then she's playing for a guy in Kenny Brooks who has a unique way of spacing the floor and
Mhm.
putting people in the right spots. You know, and then the next night you're playing somebody in the league that plays power basketball, and then the next night you're playing somebody that's big, and you're playing Tennessee, and they're trying to get you to a 100 possession game. So uh, defense has to be, I think, if you want to be really good, a stabilizing factor for you. You got to be able to give your offense a chance to win the basketball game. You don't want to go in every night saying we got to outscore these guys.
If you were and when you are in a late game situation, I'm just curious philosophically. I mean, if you're up 3, are you fouling? How
Uh,
much time on the clock? What's your thought there?
that's a great question. Kim and I talk about it all the time, and with Kim, it's a gut feeling. Probably the majority of the time she wants to foul. You know, it gets under 5 seconds. We're up 3. Let's send them to the line. There have been a couple occasions where she just felt like she either didn't trust our team
Sure.
or something like that. And guys, let's just try and stay in front of them. I do think this. I don't think coaches probably work enough on those type of situations. I know
Mhm.
when I worked for Gary Blair, we had a system called Blue that I put in. Blue meant intentionally foul. So I might say blue 5 seconds, blue, and our team knew that we were going to foul with 5 seconds. Or I might say blue at half court, and that meant when the ball crossed half court, we're fouling. Or it might be blue number 32, which means when 32 caught the ball, it was a foul. So,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you get the end of quarters and you have fouls to give. But you know, so many games, and you know this better than anybody because you call so many games, they come down to late possession games. You know, how much
Yeah.
time are you working defensively on advance the ball situations? Christy Curry is so good because you will call a timeout and come in and design a play and go out, and she's in another defense.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that is one of the best things you could do defensively. Don't have to stay in it for more than one possession, but you know that coach down there just drew up a play to attack your man to man. You come out, you play zone, and it's a wash.
Yeah. What's your philosophy or what's your thoughts on when to advance the ball and when not to? I'm seeing when I think a team has a team speed advantage or athleticism with timeouts, they decide not to advance the ball and they want to use the full court versus trying to inbound it on the sideline. What are your thoughts on that concept?
Well, I think it depends on your team, and I think it depends on the team you're guarding. You know, if we're playing a team that is as athletic or as quick as us, or maybe a good pressing team, I think you got to advance the ball. The one thing you don't want to do is turn the ball over near their rim, especially
Right.
if you're trying to maintain a lead.
Yeah.
But you also have to have a system of side out plays late in the ball game. I'll never forget the first year they put advance the ball in. We were playing NCAA tournament against Duke, and we advanced the ball. And I can't remember the kid's name, but they had like a 6'6" post player. And we advanced the ball. We drew a pretty good play. And next thing I know, they had that 6'6" player guarding our guard on the ball, taking away vision.
Hmm.
We couldn't get it in. And so I thought that was brilliant on Duke's part. But I think all those little things that are important, a coach should have that stuff written down. This is our philosophy. Your team needs to know. Your team needs to know. Like if you go up to one of our players and say, When the ball's advanced, how are you they should be able to recite that. That's how
Mhm.
important those situations are. Especially in our league right now, there's so many games that will come down to the last minute.
Absolutely. So the whole fouling, teaching your kids how to foul, where to foul, when to foul. How much conversation do you have with the official at that point where you tell them what you're going to do? Like, I would want to tell them exactly what I'm doing. We are trying to trap, then we're going to foul, or we're not fouling here. Do you want them to know so that they don't anticipate? Because a lot of times they do.
Well, I think the biggest one is to let them know you're not fouling. Because they do they're I guess it's human. They think, well, they got to foul, so they're going to foul. So we'll definitely tell them we're not fouling. If we're fouling, we may or may not tell them because we may get a steal on a hard foul that they don't call. But we're 100% if we're not fouling, we're letting them know up front. Hey, we're playing this out, guys. Don't give me a quick whistle.
All right, Bob, what about this one? Because I say this a lot on the air because I do think there is something to this. I've not really had anybody question me about it, but I have asked. You call timeout, advance the ball, you're inbounding it on the sideline. Because of the diagram of the way the officiating areas are about where you inbound the ball next, there's like a diagram where I always say, if you inbound the basketball below the free throw line, when you know a team is trying to foul, you're fouling them in the scoring area, which could be dicey, right? Because you would rather for your defense push them towards midcourt.
Sure.
I'm wanting to maybe ball fake to midcourt and then see if I can not necessarily just a direct feed to the post, but maybe some sort of pin down action where you catch it in a scoring area. Because if you know a team is trying to foul, the next inbound is going to be baseline out of bounds, which is much harder to foul. Because then you can run an action where you can absolutely get an and one.
Catch and shoot.
Does any of that, is that something that you've thought of, or does that make any sense?
Well, it makes a lot of sense. I'll go back to Christy Curry. Christy Curry has a great sideline play she runs when she advances the ball, where she brings three of her offensive players outside the arc, and she puts Zay Green on the block, and she just pops her out to the short corner a little bit deeper to give her a touch. And either you foul her, or you end up playing one-on-one basketball against an awful good basketball player. To me, when you're thinking that, and you can certainly throw it below the free throw line, above it. The other problem with throwing the ball away from the basket is if it's turned over, it's
Yeah,
going to end up in a layup or something.
right.
And of course, the most important thing is you got to be creative enough to get the ball to your best free throw shooter. And obviously, the other team sitting there down there figuring out how to take it away. So, a
Right.
lot of times with those type of plays, we'll take our best shooter and have her set a screen first. Hopefully, loosen the defense up a little bit and then screen the screener and try and get her a touch.
Is it hard to guard the inbounder after the ball comes inbounds? Because there's a lot of coaches that run sets with their best shooter inbounding it. And then, to me, it's always an indicator that you think they got to be getting it back. They can't be a decoy in certain situations, right?
Kentucky, Kenny Brooks. Almost the same setup as I talked about Christy Curry, three up top, but they put a post in the mid post and they got Georgia inbounding the ball. That post flashes up and they hit Georgia and she's a
Yeah.
bat out of where getting the ball by.
Yeah.
They have another side out play where they take they've got their five player at the free throw line. They've got two guards at the sweet spots just outside the arc, and they got Georgia on the other side of the half court. So they scissor cut off the high post. The post steps up. They throw the ball, and here comes Georgia, full speed, and they get
Right.
boom.
Yeah.
So, and those were two plays that we had to spend a little time prepping before we played them because we knew if the ball game got close, we were going to see them.
When you're teaching your team in your situation where you called blue, when you were with Coach Blair, and you're teaching them to foul, I'm saying you're fouling them on the dribble down, not on the dribble up. We don't have the scoring motion rules like the NBA has, but I still think that is on the dribble up can be in the act of shooting, right? So what are you telling your kids? Because you have to practice it. If you don't practice how to foul, most kids know how to foul, but you got to know how to foul in those situations.
Unfortunately, kids know how to foul a little bit too much sometimes. We want them to come down on the arm, and certainly not nearly any time near the raise of a shot. And there's an art to it. That's why I say you got to work on it. You see it all the time. People trying to foul and they end up fouling the shooter. But we want to come down hard on the arm, knock the ball out. And if it's an important enough situation, we want a body foul. Just we don't want to take a chance at using our hands, and the official doesn't call a foul, and they get a shot off or they pass the ball. We want a full body foul. We don't want it to be intentional, obviously.
Right.
But again, you got to spend some time working on it.
Yeah. You know what? Rick Majerus, rest in peace, my life on a napkin, where he would sit down and he could draw any play, any set, anywhere. I think there's two people in our game on the women's side, you and Lynn Dunn. You could call out, what did Tennessee and Pat run for Shamiqua? And you would know it. What did she run for Tamika? And you would know it. What did Coach Gunner run for, the great players at LSU that she had? You just have such a wealth of knowledge, such an encyclopedia of a Rolodex of plays, if you will, Bob. And I appreciate so much you taking time to share with us, because if I'm listening to this, I know what is happening under 10 seconds in the shot clock at LSU, and I'm trying to figure out how to counter that right now.
Well, I don't think it's a big secret. Kim's been doing that for a
Yeah,
long time. But the brilliance of it is there's just 10 seconds. So
right.
it's not like, if a team is switching screens for the entire possession, you got an opportunity to roll a post down on a go. But in a short situation, again, it's also part of our overall scheme of defense, because if there's a ball screen in the middle third, which, let's be honest, that's 90% of what happens late clock anyway. We're
Exactly.
gapping with our perimeter players, so it works in concert with our other principles.
I'm
And she,
working on, sorry, go ahead.
Kim's won a lot of ball games with that.
Yeah, she has. And 4 national championships playing the way that, absolutely. I'm working on a chart right now for the next game that I have, which is Louisville at Notre Dame. And Notre Dame has lost 2 games in a row. Louisville and Jeff Walz is going to come in with a plan. Seeding for the ACC tournament up for grabs. ACC championship up for grabs still. NC State and Notre Dame both tied with 2 losses, but NC State has the head-to-head over Notre Dame. And one of the things that I am trying to come up with is where you do not want to run offense with Hannah Hidalgo on the floor, because she's so quick, doesn't take a negative step on defense. She's very aggressive, very active, very productive on the ball. And I'm saying you want to keep it off the sidelines. You want to definitely keep it in the middle third. If you can play through the shoot, through the gaps, into the elbows, and even if you probe the baseline, you got to be ready for her for a tip or deflection. And she's the kind of player that if you can't see her, you're in trouble, because if you don't see where she is, she's coming, right? When you're going against an individual, because I know you've seen her and you've watched her and you've studied great defensive players, what is it about her game in particular? I'm curious.
Well, she's just a multi-level player. I mean, there's a lot of really good players out there that can beat you with something. They can beat you with a penetrating dribble because they get to the paint, or they can beat you with a 3 ball, or whatever it is. But she has so many tools in her bag that when you're defending her, you have to prioritize them. What's the one that you think that she does that affects victory the most? That affects victory the most. We went through, again. You saw our Kentucky game. It's hard to guard Georgia.
Sure.
So early on, our thought process was we were going to go under ball screens, try and stay between her and the rim, knowing we might give up some threes, and she's a good 3 shooter. But don't let her get a 3 here, get to the paint, get fouled, penetrate, and kick. Let's see if we can just keep her in front of us. And I thought we did a pretty good job. We struggled with some other areas. I think she was 3 for 12 in the first quarter. We had to adjust the second half and pick up and pressure because our team was lethargic. But that was a situation. The same thing happened with Caitlin Clark. We had to decide where we wanted her to shoot the ball. And
Hmm.
with Caitlin, our thing was don't let her get to the paint. We she guys. I remember the national championship game going in and telling Kim, I'm a big analytics guy. I said, when Iowa wins, Caitlin averages 29 points a game. When they lose, she averages 31. And she looks and says, well, what are you telling me? I said, Caitlin's going to score, coach. I have no plan to stop that. But what we could do is decide where she scores.
Hmm.
And we decided, we're not going to let her get to the paint, get to the free throw line, get our team in foul trouble, have a big assist game. And the same thing with Georgia. What you don't want Georgia to do is have 25 and 10. You don't want her to have a double-double. So if she gets 25, let's hold her to 2 or 3 assists. So, but I think when you're playing a great individual or any team, you have to decide what's the 1, 2, or 3 things they do best that creates success for them offensively. And then I think you have to try and take or alter that in some way. You can't say, hey, we're going to defend this. We're going to take this away. We're going to, no, guys.
Yeah.
Analytics, this is what analytics showed. In games they win, like here's a perfect example. Nye for Alabama. When they lose, she averages about 5-6 points. When they win, she averages about 16 or 17. We did a horrible job Gardner last night. She went off for 28, and we lost the basketball game. So I think you have to figure out what the other team does well, and you have to find a way to either stop that or slow that down. And you can't take everything away.
Bob, I'm going to go back to the very first thing you said, which I wrote down, which was Dick Bennett. Be good at the things you do a lot.
How
And
good is that?
you are pure gold this morning
How
on
good is
nothing
Dick
but
Bennett?
net. Pure gold, my friend.
Hey,
Awesome.
Debbie, how about Dick though? And to me, this is the essence of long-term coaching. Dick Bennett started out and was the godfather of up the line, on the line. And then the game evolved, and he became the godfather of pack line.
That's right.
And then I looked at Krzyzewski. When Krzyzewski first started at Duke, he's playing all man and he's running motion, which he got from his time of working for Knight at Indiana. As the game evolved, I think a large part because he got involved with the pro game. Next thing you know, he's run set plays, he's running ball screens. Heck, he's playing a little bit of zone. He learned how to recruit one and done. And I think my point is, if we're not adaptive in how we teach and how we play, it's going to be a problem somewhere down the road.
Dick Bennett, Tony Bennett's dad, who coached a long time at Virginia, who recently removed himself, resigned, retired, whatever you want to say, from the game. I was at a Virginia practice preparing for the men's game, and the day before, and Coach Bennett, Dick, was at the game. And I sat with Dick at practice for 2 hours watching Tony's team practice. The thing that I took away from listening to Dick Bennett was basketball is a servant's game. He has a court that he trains kids still to this day, and I'm guessing he probably still does it. And he teaches them the detail in the game so that they can serve the game and make the game better and easier for their teammates. And when I heard that, it resonated with me right away. And so I started looking at the game through what would be a servant's lens. This cut, this screen, this angle, how hard you run the floor, all the things that matter to you, tips, deflections that might not show, being in the gap on time, being at the level of the screen, being below the level of the screen, staying on the outside shoulder, all the things that a team might do or a teammate might do to make the game easier for their teammates. Having that servant mentality in game is what I learned from Dick Bennett. And I am grateful for those 2 hours I listened to him through every action that Tony was running or things that they were doing on the floor, the Virginia men. It was so, and this is when Virginia's top 10, that they had not won the national championship yet, but obviously Tony's style of play received quite a bit of criticism because it was boring or too slow, wasn't sexy enough, but it won.
Yeah.
And so you're doing exactly what you said. Do what you do and do it well. And I mean, it sounds like we're name dropping all these people, but you're not name dropping because you've experienced it, you lived it, you learned, and your positive way of looking at everything, Bob, has helped our game in tremendous amounts of ways that you can't even measure. and
I
just doing
appreciate
what
it.
you've done with us today. Thank
Let me
you.
give you a couple offensive concepts that go towards Dick's service thing. These are Don Meyer things. Cut to create help. Some people only cut hard when they know they're going to get the ball.
Yeah.
Cut to create help.
Yep.
Post to create help. Run the floor to create help. Don would tell you that the best players have a knack of playing in such a way that two players have to guard them, and that creates an easier option for his teammates.
I hope somebody that's watching and listening got as many notes as I got today. This is pure gold, my man.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
can talk basketball. You know, that's my favorite thing when I run into you on the road. If I could just
I
steal
know.
5 minutes to talk a little hoop.
I know, and I feel the same way. So you're welcome back anytime, whenever you want. If you've got something up your sleeve and you want to share it, let us know. We'll take it. We'll do it. And this is invaluable for me because it helps me grow. I use my platform similar way to you use your platform,
Absolutely.
and it's great to be friends with Bob Starkey. I can tell you that. It's not just on the court, but off the court as well. Thank you so much for helping us out.
Thanks for having me on, Debbie.